Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about spoiler cards from ALEP. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about ALEP I leapt to one card from another. Got it. Sing. Count it. I'm in. We're going to have a really great episode.
What was that?
Today.
Ted, normally I follow you most of the times when you say this, but I couldn't that time.
Yeah, it's fair. We're gonna have a great episode coming up for you today. It's gonna be really great. Got a special treats for everyone, and we're gonna take a lap to it as soon as we thank all of our friends of the show and patrons of the show. Isn't that right, David?
That's right. So, first of all, before we thank all the patrons, if you are interested in written articles about all these cards that we talk about, you can go right down to cardtalk2018.com. There you'll see our blog, which has written card reviews, links to cards, and links to all our back episodes. You can go there and take a look and see what we got. Matt does a really good job putting out cards every week, just like we're trying to put out episodes every week about cards as well. And we would also love to thank our patrons. If you want to become a patron, please join us right down here, patreon.com/cardtalk2018. And you too can join the ranks of the patrons, just like Jessica, Martina, Thardir, Steven, Mark, Jason, Ryan, Manuel, Grant, Katie, Rachel, Tony, Valentin, Eric, Dern's father, Moritz, Anders, Shane, Micah, Chris, Reagan, Rob, Brandon, Scott, Joe, Peter, Niall, Carl, Vardane, James, Joshua, Matt, Justin, Kidian, Bob, Daniel, Bob, David, Sean, Lou, Phil, Joseph, and Dominic. So thank you to all our patrons, and here we go talking about ALEP. Now this is a spoiler card. This card hasn't been seen much. It's in the upcoming, I think, the 4th AP of the Children of Aeorl Deluxe that fan community created content. So Grant, why don't you tell us what card is coming out here?
Well, coming back from the fall of Gondolin, he travels back to Valinor, and then during the beginning of the Third Age, he sails across the sea with Gandalf and Saruman. We are talking about Glorfindel, the 12 cost, 3 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 5 hit point Noldor noble warrior. And this time he's in the tactics sphere and has the text Glorfindel gets +2 attack while attacking alone, and he also gets +2 attack while attacking a unique enemy. So this really shows his valor when he was facing off against a Balrog.
Yeah. Just a very quick note, Grant, maybe didn't Glorfindel slay like a whole bunch of Balrogs before he himself was struck down by one? Like, wasn't that a thing? I may be forgetting exactly, but
I think he was up against one. I don't know if he was up against many.
Yeah, for
but
some reason.
But he definitely stayed behind at the fall of Gondolin. He was definitely staying behind at the fall of Gondolin to make sure all the other elves and people got out of there safely, and he died. And he's one of the only characters, if I remember rightly, to be resurrected so fast in the halls of Mendos, and then got new life for his valiant sacrifice. And then he came back across the ocean, as I said in the introduction, with Gandalf and Saruman at the beginning of the Third Age.
Right. And that's why the Light of Valinor goes so well on him, because the light of Valinor shone upon him, and he returned from the Undying Lands. So, I think, yeah. Well, Ted, you're looking at Tactics Glorfindel just like the rest of us. What do you think of this guy?
Yeah, our friends from ALEP put together the fourth iteration of this character.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, right? Whenever you have a 12 threat cost hero, it's like, what am I really getting for this high threat hero, right? And his stat line is there, which is always the baseline. They kept his same traits too, which of course are strong. So you have to look at this like they gave him two abilities, but both are situational. And I think it fits the hero quite well, and the ability is quite strong, but I feel like it's not too strong either, because they're both so situational. When he gets +2 when attacking alone, I mean that's very situational, right? If you're trying to build a tactics deck with another hero or allies, that might not come up. That might be like more beneficial during the early game type of thing. And then +2 against unique, those don't come up in every single scenario. There's not necessarily, I'm trying to think if there's a unique enemy in every single scenario. There's certainly a lot of scenarios that have uniques, either as part of the core quest or buried randomly throughout the deck. And if they're one of the random enemies, you might not see them very often, or they might only come up once per game. But it's cool to see Glorfindel like this, because he's got a lot of great cards that pair well with him. Like he can wield the Rivendell Blade to give an enemy additional -2 defense, which really furthers this attacking alone type thing. Because then he's attacking for 5 with -2 defense.
Right.
Kind of skating Grimbjorn territory.
Right.
And he also pairs well with, there's a card that is really, really great that can be tough to play, but pairs perfectly with him. And I'm trying to recall the name. It's the tactics card that requires you to have a Noldor, and then it blanks the text box of an enemy for a turn.
Revealed in Wrath.
Revealed in Wrath. Thank you, Grant. That is it. So you kind of get like a fun thematic play with that card, and that card can be a bit weird because you have to be playing a Noldor and a tactics hero, and it's easy to meet those two things, but I find it odd sometimes to squeeze into decks. But if you play this version of Glorfindel, it fits right in. Run 1, 2, 3 copies depending on the scenario, and he can.
Is Revealed in Wrath say printed tactics, or is it?
I think it's just it's a tactics event. So you just have to control a Noldor hero, and it's just a tactics event. So
it's the 1 cost tactics event. Play only if you control a Noldor hero.
Okay.
Choose a non-unique enemy until the end of the phase. Treat the chosen enemy's printed text box as if it were blank except for traits.
Yeah, and that card is super tech against Mumax.
And I'm just going to say that they have Glorfindel on the artwork for Revealed in Wrath.
Yeah, because it's him revealing himself to the Nazgul at the
at the Fort of Brunnen.
Fort of Brunnen, yep. So that card is awesome, and this version of Glorfindel fits it thematically, and it's also really great because you could blank an enemy if they have some type of restriction on them, or sometimes enemies have text on them that boosts their stats, and by blanking them, you will mitigate that stat bonus. So all kinds of fun stuff you can do with this version. I like it. It's neat.
Grant, this is like Ted said, this is approaching Grimbjorn strength. So, as a card, we haven't played it yet. This is a spoiler. So, what do you think of this tactics version of Glorfindel?
Right. Well, Glorfindel is my favorite character from the novels, so
Okay.
I'm all for this new version of Glorfindel. He is definitely, at this point, like I said, he's probably just about to face off against the Balrogs. So you're talking probably the middle to end of the first age. So yes, his abilities are very situational. But if you have, he works very well in a 3 hunters deck, where you have less characters. So he's probably generally always attacking alone, and you have more chance of possibly coming up against a unique enemy. So that's a +4 stack to his attack. So therefore, he's attacking for 7 without any attachments. So in that sense, he's very, very useful. That's without any of the extra little attachments if you're in a 3 hunters. So yes, in normal decks, it's situational. But there is a lot of ways to work that. Early game is phenomenal. Even early game in a standard deck where you've got allies and other heroes. Maybe you need just that little extra boost to your economy. So you withhold playing a chump ally and you'll defend with, say, your other attacker, just to make sure that you've got a little bit extra next round for a better ally. All that comes into play. So these abilities, although situational, could actually be very valuable, especially early to mid-game.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of design notes. Eric Shell, who is one of the guys behind ALEP. I mean, there's the community is rife with ALEP people, and so, but he's the one that usually I contact, and he's been a guest on the show a couple of times talking about ALEP cards. I do want to say that he was able to keep track of statistics as they play tested this card, right? And they said that that this was the card. This card had the second lowest win percentage. This hero had the second lowest win percentage out of all the heroes that they play tested in ALEP. And they said that so then that spurs the conversation. Well, I mean, if you can start with this guy attacking for 11. Okay, it's right out of the box. You put the 1 ring on him, and he gets strength and courage. He's attacking for 7, attacks flown for 9, and then he attacks something unique and alone for 11.
Yep,
and that's without even trying, because strength and courage is tactics, and so. But how often do you need an 11 attack hero in the first turn?
every game.
Well, that depends. Are you going up against the Hill Troll?
Well, right. So you need it in.
Or are you going up against Black Riders where you need at least 6?
Of course. I mean,
Tonight?
this is the thing, is that, while you, I guess one of the things that Eric wanted us to point out is that it looks kind of OP, but it was not necessarily that. And if you think that it's OP and it may break the game a little bit because you're starting without doing anything, you have a 7 attack, against uniques. He said that you should really play test this. You should really play it to find out exactly, how good it really is. And then I said, so I joked around with Eric. joking. I joked with him and I said this, like, so this is one of those look at this OP card and find out how disappointed you can be sort of things, right? But I got thinking about that, and I was thinking exactly those things. Like at the beginning of the game, when you're setting up, yes, attack is nice, but that's not necessarily in the vast majority of scenarios. You need attacking usually at the end of the game, not necessarily at the beginning of the game. And at the beginning of the game, you need defense and questing and card drawing. You need all those things to help set up your board. And then by the time you're ready to use Glorfindel as a destroyer of enemies, you usually have your board set up that you don't necessarily need somebody to be able to attack for 11 all by themselves anyways. So it's interesting how that conversation went with, the designer of the game, or the designer of the card. And the last thing I'll say before I pass it back to you guys is that this particular version of Glorfindel, he said, had the most iterations. That it was really hard for them to design this card to make it shine without being super OP, or without it kind of really, it was hard for them to design this card to fit like right here in this niche. And so in general, this card basically in terms of attack matches Grimbeorn, and that's what Eric kept pointing out. It's like Grimbeorn, right? It's attacking for 5. A lot of times, strength and courage, it'll be attacking for 9, and that's pretty crazy. But it's not. So, anyways, what are your Grant? I knew that you were about to say something, and then I cut you off a little bit. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, also, with them being in tactics, that 3 willpower is quite nice as well. I mean, yes, thanks to ALEP, we've got quite a few ways to boost tactics in questing. With Herobrand now, he really expands the tactics in the questing frontier. But having a base 3 quester, when you put Light of Valinor on, which has base 3 attack, which can then subsequently go up when attacking alone or attacking a unique, especially early game, if you get Light of Valinor first turn, then you really don't need to so much worry about the combat side of things if you've got your defender there, because of the fact that you can quest without having to worry about exhausting, obviously, Glorfindel, and then obviously he's ready for combat to take any of the nasty enemies that may come out or may already be out, and he gets a nice little boost from that.
I want to go back, Grant, because you were talking about Hill Troll and Nazgul. The Hill Troll is not unique, neither is the Nazgul. So this guy would only be attacking for...
No.
In the Black Riders? You said the Black Rider? Hill Troll's not... So if they were...
the Hill Troll's not unique, and then there are, I think, is it the Nazgul or Dol Guldur that's unique? I know there's one Nazgul that's got the unique symbol.
Yeah, the Witch
one.
King does, but I thought you were talking about specifically the Black Riders and the Black Riders box, and those guys are not unique. So
it was just where you need like the attack increase,
right? And
it was just rattling off quests that need attack power.
Beefy guys, right?
Yeah, but no, I mean, yes, will he shine late game? Probably not. Will he shine early to mid game? Possibly, and I can understand where the win percentage comes from, because tactics does struggle a little bit within like the win ratio for quests, because obviously most of their cards are designed for combat, whereas some of the others are more well-rounded and balanced. And ALEP's doing a good job at finding and balancing out the tactics sphere in order to do that. But again, I actually like the fact that this is focused on combat. It is more a product of, in my opinion, the time frame for where I'm picturing this Glorfindel to be during the First Age in the wars against Morgoth.
Right, and the flavor
Or shall I
text
say
even
Malcolm?
the flavor text even reflects that, right? It's from the Fall of Gondolin.
Yeah, the flavor text is from the Fall of Gondolin, which is a brilliant book. I recommend everybody read.
Right. Ted, what are you like now that you've had a chance to listen to Grant and I talk about this? You know, it's a spoiler. We're just kind of seeing it. I don't want to say for the first time, but we're still just kind of digesting it. So.
Yeah, well, the spoiler episodes, we always kind of put a little disclaimer, like it's a spoiler episode, so we haven't played this card. Everything we say, and our opinion, it's true for me, and both you guys have had the same experience that a lot of players have, which is your opinion of a card changes after you play it because you either find an application you didn't think about, or the card just doesn't work the way you think it will once you read it. And that's what I feel is going to happen with this hero. Is it, initially it looks great. You're like, wow, 7 attack maybe, but that's very conditional 7 attack, and it's not gonna a lot of unique enemies I feel to require more than 7.
There's only one I think that you can one shot with this, and I think it's Erdug.
Because
from the Wilds of Rivanian, I think he's like 2 defense and 5 hit points or something.
Well, because even so, thinking of the core set, I'm trying to think of the unique enemies.
Right. Unholy Spawn. Marshatter. Is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Spawn, right? And then there was what? Chief.
I don't think Uftak is unique. I don't think he's unique, believe it or not.
Okay.
He is unique. Chieftain Uftak is unique.
I'm gonna look him up real quick. How much? But yeah, is it you guys? Grant, you were talking about the Nazgul, right?
Yeah.
The Nazgul of Dual. Oh, so the Nazgul of Dual Guldur is not unique. Looking at a copy here, unless they. Oh, what the? Whoa.
What?
Oh, okay. I say there's one that is and one that isn't, and the one that is unique is from the Wizard's Quest.
Right.
Is unique, but the other one.
Okay, that may be where I'm getting it confused.
Yeah, because they have the same exact artwork and stat line. And so, but anyway, it's not going to be if you just want straight 5 attack all the time. I mean, you can get that. Like compare him to Hero Bjorn, right? Hero Bjorn's just got 12 attack, and then a Sentinel and doesn't exhaust, and
he doesn't have 12 attack.
Right. Right. So if you just want 5 attack all the time, you can get that. But Glorfindel, but this one, like I said, pairing, you can pair him with Rivendell Blade. Grant mentioned Light of Valinor. And then it's like you could put him with Tactics Hero Theoden, who gives the +1 willpower.
No,
boost.
this is what I was thinking is like you put Tactics Theoden.
Don't forget Tactics Aragorn.
Eowyn.
Yep.
And this guy together, and you're questing for 12 right off the bat in a 3 hunters deck, and you're only 30 threat. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing, right? So Theoden costs 12,
right?
And then the only really suitable hero then is Tactics Eowyn, who's a great hero,
or Mary.
Yeah, it's true. Mary's 2, but then you're still kind of limited to those heroes, right?
Right.
Because do you want another 10 cost hero 12 where you're starting at 34? Like that's really high,
right, for
most players. So I think this is a fun card to put on the table, and the ability's gonna come up. Yeah, I think as Grant said, like he's probably gonna do better, early game, just like certain heroes are. Like Bjorn is better early game because you can't build him, you can't put attachments on him. Right. This Glorfindel, you can at least build up with some weapons, other attachments, unexpected courage, Light of Valinor to get use of his
Gondorian
stats.
Fire.
Right.
We're
Just
already at
for
5 or 7.
just for instance, there are a couple more enemies that are unique that Legolas would one shot if he was to attack alone.
Legolas or
You've
Glorfindel?
got Captain Sahir, Glorfindel.
Okay.
Captain Sahir.
Whose stats
Nasia.
are how many defense and how many hit points?
Captain Sahir has 2. Captain Sahir has 2 defense and 5 hit points, where Nasia has 2 defense and 4 hit points.
Right. And Sahir has that weird thing though that like Shelob does, right? If you damage him, then you remove
resource. For each point of damage Captain Sahir would take, discard 1 resource from him and cancel the damage.
Right.
Nasia has when Nasia attacks or defends, she gets +1 attack and defense for this attack. Well, for each resource on her after this attack, discard a resource. So if you get to kill them early, great.
Right. Yeah, I think
there's a few more with 9 hit points, like a total of 9 to kill, but most of them are generally like 11 to 12.
Right.
Some are more.
Yeah.
Farm Shade is another one.
Right. I mean,
so
you're just not gonna be sweat. It doesn't necessarily break the game, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But the bonuses are helpful because those unique enemies are tougher, and some of them are immune to player card effects too.
Right.
So his ability boosting his attack is the best way to deal with those, which is kind of like it's a good ability to have that doesn't subtract defense or do something else where it affects the card. It affects Glorfindel.
Right.
Which I like.
Right. And like Grant said, if you bring out Tactics Aragorn, Scorpigorn, then you can get -1 to somebody that's engaged, and like there's all sorts of shenanigans you can play. Gondorian Fire, Steward of Gondor with Gondorian Fire.
He would need the Dunedain or Gondor trait to get down Gondorian Fire.
Right. Well, that's what I said as Steward of Gondor with.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, there's.
It's like there are other ways in the game to just get this attack boost, but him having it built into his ability,
right,
and then combined with those other cards, the weapons and other attachments that boost him. Yeah, I think it can add up and be very, very helpful and very fun.
And what it does as a solo player, this is what I'm mindful of, is that if you have those boosts built in, those are cards that you may not have to include in your deck later on. So that leaves space to put something else in your deck, right? And so that's always helpful because you may not want to put anything on Glorfindel and just let him attack for 5, and that's still a beefy defender or a beefy attacker, and that's really good. So I don't know. What about the art?
It certainly looks like Glorfindel. I don't know if they took this from one of the many token artists that are just kind of about, or if they.
I'm pretty sure
they do some special commissions.
This was a special commission.
So
if you're interested, Farcom, FARCOM, Farcom is one of C-Stan's many Patreons, and they commission art for the game, and they've done several pieces at this point, and this is one of those pieces, and it's really good. It's by Stephen Shan, and I don't know, it looks good. I'm still trying to figure out what's behind him, whether that's Mount Doom, like lava fields, or like I'm just trying to figure out what the behind him is, and I'm not as familiar
Mount
with
Doom,
the lore.
like it being Mordor makes the most sense given the lava.
I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think that's Mordor. I think that might be actually the Fall of Balerion.
Okay, I was gonna.
Yeah, so it's like first stage stuff when there was no. Yeah, like when Middle Earth as we know it wasn't actually Middle Earth.
Well, the Middle Earth we know comes obviously after the Fall of Balerion, right, when that whole part of the continent sinks into the ocean.
Right.
Now, this could actually be from the fall of Gondolin itself, where the entire hidden city is engulfed by the Balrogs and the orcs and whatever else.
Right.
Oh, that would also make sense given the flavor text.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? I'm sure that they know, but
Yep.
I mean, it's
That
I
would make
guess
sense
that.
to me because this is kind of going for, like a first stage or second age version of Glorfindel, right? Rather than his current iterations from the normal game.
Yep. Well, I would say let's ring this guy, but here at Card Talk, we don't usually have a ring rating for these guys, but we have the highly unscientific and definitely arbitrary thumbs up, thumbs to the side, thumbs down system for kind of our gut feeling about this card. And I'm going to give this card a thumbs up just because I feel like this card... my discussion with Eric about how it looks really overpowered, but then you realize that, a lot of times you don't need a 7 or an 11 attacker on the board. Like, you just don't need that. But there are cases where you would, of course. But so I think that it looks like it's game breaking, but it's not. It's going to be attacking. This guy's going to be attacking for 5 or a lot, and that's reasonable. So, Grant, what do you think of Tactics Glorfindel? I don't have a funny name for this, like Tactics Findel, Tactics Del, Glorfintix. I don't know. I just don't have any sort of funny Scorpidel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, Grant, what do you think?
I like this Glorfindel. I mean, yes, he's not overpowered, but then again, not many of the abilities from Glorfindel have been that game-breaking or even too devastating. I mean, his first iteration, you were able to pay 1 resource and heal a point of damage. The second version, he was low threat, but you then had to raise your threat every time he exhausted to commit to the quest. And then you had the ally version, which you could pay 5 resources, bring them back from the discard, and then discard a card from your hand to ready. This feels more tactics-based, which it is, because it's all about combat power. And it falls in line with not being game-breaking come mid to late game, but early game is pretty useful, even with that. Even if you're just taking them for 3 attack and 3 willpower, early game, that's still phenomenal for baseline stats. So I'm thumbs up this guy.
Okay, thumbs up this guy. Okay, Ted, are you going to thumbs up this guy?
Yep, thumbs up this guy. He's an elf. I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Right.
He seems like a fun card. He seems like a fun card and not crazy by any means. But like I said, the traits are really strong. I think he might make I think he might actually make a really, really fun Grey Wanderer hero, because you fish out that Strider attachment, and then he's questing for 5 and not exhausting, and then he's sort of got this built-in attack boost. So if you get a defender on the board,
you could get the Light of Valinor.
You could fish out Light of Valinor, same, yeah. Or if you get you could fish out a Rivendell Blade as well. So a couple, I think, of fun things you could do, and that Noldor trait's got a lot of play too. So thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Well, there you have it. We just got a spoiler from ALEP, and we are here spoiling it on Card Talk. Thank you to ALEP for doing all this amazing work, trying to keep the game alive and keep the game fresh, I guess is the best way to say it. And, the community, all the community content that's going on there. So Thank you so much, and everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week as we begin our extravaganza month on Card Talk. Have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.